How's it going, you homicidal heathens? Today, we're going to be riding the Magic School Bus. We're going to be taking a trip. Gen Zers are like, Magic School Bus? What the fuck is that? Nonetheless, today, we're going to be taking a trip down memory lane, if you will. Uh, Going down Nostalgiaville and just talk about my journey out into and how I got into extreme music and heavy metal, death metal, and all that 32 flavors of metal that exist in today's world. But there was a beginning for little tiny chemo venturing off into the infinite adventures that come with discovering new music. And aside from, I've said this before, but growing up was always I always just loved the sound of an electric guitar. And my uncle, growing up, my uncle would always be blasting like just AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and to me that it just sounded fucking cool. Like not because I wanted to, fit in with my family or my uncle or anything, but just the sound of just a distorted electric guitar was always just so soothing to me. And growing up as a kid, because back in the day, your parents would just drop you off randomly at houses, and you were just on your own, just like figure it out. Here's $2-3 so you can walk to the fucking corner store, buy yourself a bag of chips and a soda. I'll be back at 5 p.m. Don't get in trouble. Bye. And that was it. Life in the late '80s, early '90s. Well, I was born in the mid '80s, but I always consider myself a child of the '90s, um, which to this day, I mean, I'll always consider myself that. But yeah, back then before internet and stuff, And remember being at my grandma's house, and she had a double cassette deck, and I would just sit by. I'll just sit outside, with the double cassette deck, put it on the Q 94.5, where our local radio station, where they would play rock and roll music, heavy metal, rock and roll, whatever. Um, and my grandma had like shit tons of just like blank cassettes just everywhere. Those were the times, bro. In the late '80s, early '90s, there were just cassettes everywhere. Just cassettes, not VHS, but just audio cassettes. And I would just sit there with the double cassette deck, put the radio, rewind the tape all the way, put the little spit wad of paper on top of the cassette so you can hit record. Because if not, it wouldn't let you record. You had to put a spit wad of paper on top of the cassette and then hit record. And when I found this out, I was like, poof! It opened the floodgates. Um, and so yeah, just listening to Q 94.5 rock and roll station. I would just sit by the radio, and when I would hear a song that I would like, bam, just hit record. And just wait for it to finish, and then push stop. I had to get the whole song. And I would hear like the intro to like a Pink Floyd song, or Led Zeppelin, or AC/DC, or even like Metallica. Um, the Black Album had been released in 91, 90, around there, right? So it was all the buzz, growing up as a kid in the '90s. And even though I didn't really, I mean, I was just a kid, but it just sounded cool to me. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. It was just the universe just like put that path before me. And so yeah, anyway, at a very young age, I would just make my own cassettes, you know, rock and roll, heavy metal, and I had my own little Walkman and my cassettes and my headphones, and that was just the vibe, bro. That's what you did as a kid to entertain yourself, just ride, get on your bike, go to the stores, play marbles, and listen to music. And then we fast forward, whatever, and I was just a fan of music. And I get to middle school, and I'll never forget my friend, because I grew up in not like a hardcore like religious home, like not like a hardcore Christian home or anything like that. But it was still like, on Sundays you gotta go to church, and if you don't go to church, you're gonna go to hell, and you're gonna burn in hell for all eternity, so you have to go to church and all that shit, right? And even as a kid, I was like, I had so many questions about hell and heaven, and I would always ask like the Bible study teachers or whatever, like if I'm the only one in heaven, like I would always ask fucked up questions, and they'll just be like, it's God's will and God knows everything, or whatever the fuck they would say, right? But like, if I'm the only one in heaven and all my family goes to hell, how am I not gonna feel sad? Like, oh well, in heaven there is no sadness. I mean, I'm getting off topic, right? I'm talking about religion. But anyway, what made me gravitate more towards this music? I've been in middle school. We're fast forwarding a couple years now. I was in middle school, right? And I was born in '86, so it's like mid late '90s or whatever. And I'm in middle school, and my friend Watts, he shows me this CD, right? 'Cause we all just had a CD player. I mean, if you didn't have a CD player in middle school, you were the fucking weirdo, right? And he shows me this, and I have the CD right here. I'm gonna show it to y'all. This is what did it for me, fam. And the whole purpose of this video is just like my journey towards discovering more and more extreme music. And how I just became obsessed with it at such a young age. But this is the album that, like, it was the one. Like I can say it, and I get like nostalgia and chills just thinking about it. But if I had to choose one, it was White Zombies, Las Exorcisto, Volume 1. Double Music Volume 1. This is it. This is what did it for me as a kid. Not so much the cover. I mean, the cover looks whatever, right? It's like, dude looking like a hippie or whatever, right? But when my friend Watts showed me the CD, and he let me borrow it so I can put it in my CD player, it was like everything that was supposed to be hidden away from us as kids. And when I saw those pentagrams and demons and 45 revolvers, I was hooked. I was just hooked. From the very beginning, I was just hooked. Because the visual, this is before the internet, you know? This is the mid-late 90s. You're a kid. And there's no internet. There's no smartphones. So there was a mystery. There was mysterious elements floating in the air when it came to bands and musicians, that the only way to find out about it was to listen to it. You know, it's the only way to find out, or through magazines and radio stations. If you were lucky enough that your city had like a heavy metal radio station or whatever, late at night or whatever. But yeah, it was either through magazines, zines, tape trading. I mean, I wasn't old enough for the whole tape trading thing, but not that old. But yeah, fam, like back then, the only way to find out about a band was to listen to it. And just pentagrams and demons and guns blazing and 8 balls, and my little chemo brain was like, holy shit, this looks fucking amazeballs. This is amazing, because this is everything that I'm not supposed to listen to. I'm not supposed to like listen to this, because if I do, I'm gonna go to hell, and it's bad, and the devil and the demons and all this stupid bullshit, right? But all this, all that upbringing and that grilling in your brain, you know how religion can fuck a lot of people up in the head. All it did was it just gravitate. It made me gravitate more towards this music, and it always felt like my little like getting away with murder, like, you know what I mean, like. And then the back of the album as well, like, I mean, come on, bro, you got zombie chicks with massive tits. And fucking Chemo was all up in that. He was hooked from day one. And just this album was a huge catalyst for just like my journey as as a little Chemo in middle school. Just that one song, you know, fucking Rob it busted. Yeah, I never. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. And I just remember hearing that shit in my headphones for the first time, and I was just like, yeah, like this is everything I've always wanted, bro. I'll never let you down my street that I came, and it's going right here. Head down. Anyway, if you know, you know. But this is a huge album that played such a catalyst into this heavy metal journey, if you want to call it that. Just that CD, and just that right there. Just the whole aesthetics, the mystery behind it, you know, just This is Black Sunshine. But yeah, dude, it's just there's one album that like drilled it in my head, and I just knew from then on, like this was always gonna be something that I was always gonna be passionate about. This was always gonna be something that I'm gonna be addicted to. Um, White Zombie Las Exorcisto, by far. First time my eyes laid on that fucking green CD as a kid, I was just like, this is gnarly. This is fucking cool. I'm not supposed to be listening to this, and that's why I'm listening to this right now. Anyways, enough of that. Go on to the second. I was going to show 3 albums that were a huge, that played a huge role in the evolution of it all. Right. Second, if you're my age, just seeing that CD, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. I mean, if you know, you know. Of course, it's Marilyn Manson's The Antichrist Superstar album. I mean, Marilyn Manson. Who hasn't heard of Marilyn Manson, right? He removed one of his ribs to suck his own dick, you know, and that's like fucking like that's like one of the crowning achievements of our generation, because we were able to spread that rumor through word of mouth, classroom from classroom to classroom from classroom, from Texas all the way to fucking New York, and from New York all the way to fucking California. We spread that rumor growing up, god damn it, without the internet. So yeah, Marilyn Manson removed his own ribs to suck his own dick. Classic. But anyway, so yeah, I've always loved the dualism behind the whole image and the whole story behind Marilyn Manson. You know, you have Marilyn Monroe, this huge, beautiful, iconic figure, all that's good, all that's beautiful, the light of the world, everything that's positive in this world, on one hand. And then you have Manson, Charles Manson, everything that's evil, everything that's dark and disgusting, everything that's wrong with the world. And you have this balance between the two, you know. You have the devil, you have God, you have Marilyn Monroe, you have Charles Manson, you have the light, you have the darkness. And what happens when you bring the two together in unison, you get the best of, well, maybe not the best of both worlds, but the best of a world and the worst of another world coinciding and gelling into one. And it's just this, almost like this dualistic nature of, ultimately in life, you can't have evil without love. You can't have love without evil. The devil doesn't exist without God, and God can't exist without the devil. That kind of dualism, um, that was like this aura of what Marilyn Manson was all about. And whatever, people can have their opinions about him and all this stupid shit. Nowadays in PC culture and cancel culture and I can't listen to that. I can't listen to this. And people can't think for their own fucking selves. They just have to be fucking blind, fucking robotic sheep just laid to the fucking slaughter. But anyways, that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. But Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar, just an amazing fucking album. Holds up to this day. I haven't spun this in years. I love how when you say like, yeah, I still listen to Slipknot. Yeah, I still listen to Marilyn Manson. I love how like in a metalhead's brain, it automatically means all they listen to is Slipknot 24/7. I just listen to Iowa all day every day. I just listen to fucking Antichrist Superstar all day every day. It's like, no, fuckstick. It's just, I like revisiting bands that I grew up on, because to me, there's nothing more powerful than music. And music in itself, it's like a time machine. It has the power to teleport you into the past. At least that's what it does for me, anyways. And for better for worst, I still love revisiting those slices and those eras of myself and who I was back then. And it's not always beautiful. It wasn't always pretty, but hell, when you're fucking young, dumb, full of cum, it's all fucking. I mean, of course it ain't pretty and it ain't all fucking pizzas and blowjobs, if you will. But yeah, man, just an album that was just amazing for me growing up. Minute of Decay, The Reflecting God, Tourniquet. I mean, those songs are fucking gnarly. And it's funny. It's also like growing up, you know, as a youngster. It's like, again, kind of like with White Zombie and like the aesthetics and like the satanic stars and the pentagrams and chicks with big tits and zombie chicks and all this whatever the fuck, right? And it's like this debauchery and demonic demons and inverted crosses and all this shit. And it's almost like the same with Marilyn Manson. It's like the more and more people, as like more like the adults growing up, when I was growing up in the '90s, it's like all the adults did, you know, after the Satanic Panic and all that bullshit, all they really did was help elevate, going back to the mystery that surrounded music back in the day. Because we didn't have internet, we didn't have smartphones growing up. So there was an element of surprise. There was mysterious connotations in the air. There was the unknown. It was just, you didn't know what was behind door number 3, you know. But now it's like, nowadays you can just Google an artist's name and what year he was born and how many kids he has and who he's married to and the names of his children, and it's like the mystique, the aura, the magic behind what made a band and what gave a band their character, their persona, their those almost majestic qualities. Nowadays all that's dead. And I miss, and at least I'm grateful that I was born in an era and in a time where that magic still existed in the air. It was out in the ether, and you didn't really know, like, man, this guy's fucked up. Like, does he really fucking drink fucking goat's blood and fucking did he really dig up his grandmother's corpse and make a bow out of her skull, and he eats fucking cocoa pebbles at night out of his dead grandmother's skull? Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that? Is it true? Did you hear about it? You know, that kind of that aura, that you know, that mystery, that element of not knowing who these people were, played a huge role in how we perceived and absorbed this type of music. And nowadays, that aesthetic, it's dead. It doesn't really exist much anymore because now with phones and technology and social media, everything is everyone else's business, and it's just, it is what it is, right? You can't go back and rewrite history; it's already written. But just going back to that, you know, the mystery, the folklore, and just like the unknown that surrounded certain bands, and the more adults would like hype up and like be like, put parental advisory stickers on it, and don't listen to this, and don't. These are the top 10 bands that your kids should not be listening to. And all that did for us was like, okay, those are the 10 bands that I gotta listen to now. You know what I mean? Like, it was so counterproductive in that time in the '90s. It was like, it's like, if you don't want someone to know about something, maybe you should just shut the fuck up and not sit there and scream about it. You know, like. But good times, bro. Good times. So that's another one for me. For me in my journey, Antichrist Superstar. Think what you want, say what you want. It's just what it did to me, and my projection out into just extreme metal, and how extreme music, and how it just all snowballed into what it is today. And now it's just, now that the sinkhole, the wormhole is just infinite. It's infinite. Just diving into bands, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Has its pros and its cons. That's a whole other video for a whole other day. But last and most definitely not least, the straw that broke the camel's back for me, but in a good way. The almighty deicide, Once Upon the Cross. I mean, what can be said that hasn't already been said about the legendary status of the almighty motherfucking Glenn motherfucking Benton, right? Again, back to the mystery of it all, you know, when like you're seeing like picture, like, dude, bro, seeing this picture, I love how I love how in this album that, you know, because aesthetics matter, presentation matters. I love how Once Upon the Cross, it's just like, you know, the album art, right? And then on the back, they're not giving you anything. It's just a killer fucking sick ass band photo of Glenn Benton and the band, and it's just like Glenn Benton, burning an inverted four cross into his forehead, and just like all this gnarly shit. And but yeah, I mean, easily the first time I heard this, I was just blown away by just. I mean, everything. The music itself was just a whole nother ballgame to what I was listening to, growing up. Maybe like in eighth grade, already like a freshman in high school around that era, and it was just fucking gnarly, bro. The first time I heard Deicide, and also, I think I bought their the Best of Deicide album first on Roadrunner. Um, I don't know, it's somewhere. I don't know. I don't feel like looking for it right now, but yeah, the first time I heard I bought the Best of Deicide album off Roadrunner Records on CD with my own money after saving up a couple bucks from cutting my neighbor's yard, and I was hooked. Like, I remember the first time hearing Satan Spawn the Caco Demon on that Best of album, and then I was just like hearing that on my headphones. It was just the most gnarly fucking thing. Satan Spawn the Caco Demon. Satan Spawn the Caco Demon. If I try to scream like Glenn Benton, I'll turn my vocal cords in half. So I can't. But just him repeating that fucking, just the title of this of the song, Satan Spawn the Caco Demon. It was just like the most gnarly fucking thing that I could ever imagine, and it was all over from there, And of course, this legendary album, Once Upon the Cross, and of course, because aesthetics matter and artwork matters, and like I said, it was genius how like you pick this up in a store, right? You don't really know. You can't just Wikipedia. You can't just hop on, Encyclopedia Metallum or whatever. So it's shrink wrapped, and you're like, okay, it looks like in the shape of Christ, and he's soaked in blood. In the back, you have the band members, but there's no songs. There's not telling you the names of the songs. It's just like you pick this up as a kid, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, fuck. And the only way to know is to buy it and purchase it. And when you buy and purchase something, then you're inclined to listen to it from start to fucking finish, not just, I'm going to skip to track number 4, and then I'm going to take it off and put my fucking favorite fucking Pantera album on. Like, no. Like, when you pay for the music, you put it in, you push play, and you just sit down and you listen to the whole fucking thing, right? At least that's the way. Not that that's the way you have to do it. I understand that everyone's brains are wired differently. Everybody's going to consume music differently, but whatever. Just absolutely gnarly. Deicide. Still have this. It's the same copy that I had all these fucking years later. Absolutely fucking gorgeous. And then you unveil, the cloth. You have Satan's guts. Just Jesus' guts. Just there, and it's fucking gnarly, bro. Like, look at that band photo, bro. Like, look at that. Look at that band photo, man. Look at that sick band photo. And the tracks off this album were just, the first time hearing Christ Denied, it has one of the sickest fucking riffs in it. Like, when Satan rules his world, kill the Christian. Kill the Christian. They are the children of the underworld, bro. I remember the first time hearing that song. They are the children of the underworld. Christ Reaper. Anyway, so yeah, that's just these 3 albums, bro. That's it. And Deicide, Once Upon the Cross, Antichrist Superstar, Marilyn Manson, and the catalyst of it all that just fried my brain the first time I laid eyes on the CD, man. I still get like giddy about it because it just reminds me of my youth so much. White Zombie, bro. White Zombie. This is Black Sunshine. That bass kicks in, but yeah. And I guess that's just it, I miss the days, the whole premise and the whole reason behind this video, I was just thinking, I was like, man, I miss the days when like bands had a mystery about them, when bands had this aura around them, where you didn't know much or anything about them, and they were like, maybe not superheroes, they were like villains, or superheroes, I guess, because they take us away from the hardships of the real world, and you get to escape into fantasy and be in a different world, and the music takes you and brings you into a different world because of the mystery and the lore, the aura that surrounded certain bands, and you just didn't really know what was true and what was real and what wasn't. And I miss that. I feel like Gen Z has been robbed of those experiences, and they'll never know. It's sad, right? It's sad. It's sad in the sense, if you're a Gen Z or watching this, I'm not trying to knock on you or belittle you, because it's not your fault. It's no one's fault. But it's just sad in the sense of like, I can go on for an hour blabbering my mouth, but it's not going to make a fucking difference, because how can you explain the color blue or the color red to someone who was born blind? You just can't put it into context. You can't put it into words. And going to concerts in the late 90s, early 2000s was awesome, before technology, before smartphones. It's like everyone was just under the same roof, and the crowd is just the energy was all like in unison. Everyone's just one, staring at the fucking band, living in the fucking moment. They're pounding their fucking fists, throwing up the fucking horns, being in the fucking pit, just pounding on each other nonstop. And not a phone in sight. Obviously, that didn't exist, but it was just a different time, a different era. And I'm glad and grateful that I got to experience music in that timeline, in those settings, when there was still a certain mystery, this mysterious vibe that surrounded certain bands, and your imagination was allowed to run wild. And now everything's so confined and constricted and PC, and you can't say that or you're gonna get thrown off this tour. So hey, band members, if you don't talk about this thing that's happening in the world, don't talk about that war, don't talk about that president, don't talk about that dictator, don't talk about bombs being dropped in Gaza, just don't, you're gonna get thrown off the tour, shut up. And all that's because of social media and how it's all just intertwined with the world nowadays, and this toxic culture of shit. But it is what it is. We can't go back in time. All we can do is put one foot in front of the other and try to make better memories of the better times, and just keep on putting one foot in front of the other. So that's all I got for you guys. Stay metal, stay true. Don't do anything that Satan wouldn't do.